Fucking hell. Good evening, people. Welcome back to All the Football and welcome back to the most anticipated stream of all time.
I mean, there's essentially returning to the channel.
It was what? What returning?
Like God.
God. Yeah. You definitely are God, Conor. But I'm really glad for this thing to happen, and obviously I really did miss the talking about football, because that was the main thing I enjoyed about when I did do the previous channel. I enjoyed doing the watch-alongs, and the fact that you were somehow second in the table, beating Burnley with Pogba and that kind of stuff, and we were in the crap at that time. And this time, you're in the crap and we're top of the league, so big difference. But I'm glad to have you here, and this time it's a bit more serious, not more, reading memes and that kind of stuff. This is a bit more.
I've actually made. I'm very prepared.
And listen, I'm glad to see you're very, very prepared. And first of all, I think we've just got to talk about how this weekend has been a very interesting week, Premier League wise. I don't think so far not a single top six side have lost. Makes it interesting, except that Chelsea, I think, are playing tonight. And can you see Chelsea losing today? Because Palace have got so many injuries.
They do, and Chelsea obviously have formed from when they beat Villa in the midweek. Chelsea's issue is consistency. My partner's dad's a Chelsea fan, and we say the same thing every time. It is just consistency, and it's also it's about switching off. Chelsea have so much talent, that like Nicholas Jackson, for example. He could be a 20-goal-a-season striker, but he switches off in games. It's the same at the back with Levi Colwell and stuff like that. And but the thing is, Chelsea's squad is deep, and they have so many good young players that once it starts to click, they will be there.
I really do think, and with Palace tonight having lots of injuries, no Elise, no Eze, no Guehi as well. If Chelsea do not win today, they may as well just delete their football club, because it's their best chance ever to beat Palace comfortably, if I'm being fairly honest with you.
Did Chelsea go back 10th if they win?
Actually, let me double check.
Because I know they're 11th currently.
Let's have a look. Chelsea win against Palace. Chelsea will move. They go 10th. They'll go 1 point. Yeah, Wolves lost to Brentford, so they'll move it up 10th, and they'll be 1 point behind Brighton, who are 9th. So realistically, if they win today, they could move up to 1 or 2 points off Europe.
Well, I mean, it's still early.
It's still early, but it's crazy how after how shite they've been this season, that not that far off. Is there any game this weekend that you think? What was your favourite game this weekend to watch, other than Man United? Other than Man United.
Well, I'll start with one a bit closer to your heart. We'll start with the Liverpool game. I thought it was another great attacking performance, but it's the instability and it's the decline this season of Virgil van Dijk. Not so much constantly, but he has now moments. He never used to have moments of frailty, whereas, for example, if you take their goal, and even that, when Kelleher had to bail you out a couple of times, it always seemed to be targeting Van Dijk's side, and you do wonder if maybe with Klopp going, will Van Dijk also leave at the end of the season?
Yeah, listen, it's a weird one with our games, with the Liverpool game. I don't know if you think the same, but for me personally, I just thought it was really poor that the only two players jumping for the ball for the Burnley goal was O'Shea, who scored, and Luis Diaz.
But it's also poor of I don't know who in set pieces was allocating, whether it's Klopp or who was telling, but whoever put Endo on O'Shea. I don't. No,
Endo's tiny. They're never gonna catch O'Shea in the air.
It's like when Martinez has been in the squad. Like, for example, when we played Newcastle, they weren't putting Martinez against Dan Burn. They allocate players, but whoever's putting in, like Burnley centre backs were scoring in the Championship last season. So why Endo got put on that duty? I felt sorry for him.
People tell me to turn you up. I'm not sure what's going on because you are. Right, do you want? I can increase your volume. Let's try this. Let me know if he's loud enough now. I've put him up to 148% under 100. So let's.
They're gonna love it. Look at the intense Conor J experience.
The intense. But let's analyse the games game by game. I think we should analyse game by game. Start with the first game of the weekend. Of course, was Man City v Everton.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought, but I actually thought Man City to me looked quite poor. They were quite poor.
Let's just say right now, if you want, maybe not controversially, but Conor J's first out there opinion of the season. What's his name? Nunez, or who did they sign from Wolves? What's his name?
Matheus Nunez.
Oh yeah, worst signing of the season. Where does he fit into that? Every time he had the ball, he just looked weak on it. He was getting beaten. He was getting chased down by Everton, closed down too quickly. Where does he fit the Pep style?
Genuinely, I do not know. Genuinely, like a lot of people have been telling me that they think he's more of a Liverpool kind of player. Because the thing is, with City, they play, was it 3-2-4-1?
Yeah, it varies, and then Stones gets moved about a bunch.
And I honestly don't think he fits in that system.
But what I will say, when Walker and De Bruyne got brought off the bench yesterday, they changed the game.
No, of course they changed the game. They're amazing.
The thing is with City, I mean, it was a good performance overall, but you do... Everton didn't take their chances.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue. And it's poor... Having Calvert-Lewin still as a front man in 2024 is something that this summer they're going to have to address. Because I get he's had on-off injury issues, and I get a couple of years ago, 100%, when he had that weird run of form where he was... I don't know how many he scored a couple of seasons ago, but when he was on that form patch after lockdown... He's never pushed on since then. And then with the injuries, he's been up and down. It's just one of those. But I still think Everton are going to stay up. I've been saying that the whole time. It's that bloody Sean Dyche ball.
Listen, with me, I really do think Calvert-Lewin, genuineness, when Everton play, it's like they're playing with 10 men. Because he's just invisible. I just don't understand him. Like I think from Everton fan, I'd rather play their new signing Beto. He looks more. I
like Beto. He's raw, but I like him.
He looks better than Calvert-Lewin. Because every time, with the amount of time this season, I think Calvert-Lewin missed point blank headers, open goals. I'm genuinely like, for me, I get everyone going Darwin Núñez, Højlund, even though Højlund's been proving it more this season. Darwin's been playing better. Haaland's been injured and now playing well. Genuinely, for me, the worst striker this season has been Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He is arse.
One thing genuinely. I will say as well, I saw all over X or Twitter or whatever one people want to say, people were memeing Jared Braithwaite, for like the Haaland goal. And they were being like, oh, I don't know why the hype around Braithwaite. He made one mistake. He's had a very good season. People are very fickle. And they just remember one thing. And it's funny because suddenly after a season where he's been linked to Chelsea and United, one Haaland mistake and everyone's like, oh, look how shit he is.
Listen, I don't get it because I genuinely believe, I think Braithwaite would do amazing for United.
Yeah, I'd be happy with him.
Or an Arsenal. I genuinely believe he needs to leave Everton. It's just he's because they're probably going to go down the Championship.
It depends on it depends on what happens to Forest and Everton. I don't know. Like, there's rumours that both of them are going to get points deductions. Obviously, if Everton get another points deduction, it's hard to see if they can recover from that. I mean, they're doing well enough as it is, but the fact they've lost 10 points.
Listen, I genuinely believe they will. If they get another point deduction, it's done. But at the moment, this is the problem with the fact that Luton lost. Everton have got a slight sliver of hope because I think if Luton had been Sheffield, the gap starts to build. Now there's 1 point gap. Now Everton win the next game, Luton lose the next game, Everton are back out.
Us next game.
Yeah, I can't. Even though I know Luton last time I don't know how they dominated you and should have got a draw out of it, but you playing home or away?
Pass. Who do you think gets away?
Ooh, that's going to be hard. But I think you might do similar to what you did against Villa and just,
That's what good teams do. They grind out results.
But we did a lot of time in 1819, so it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I thought Haaland again. Big ups to Kevin De Bruyne again. It's ridiculous footballer.
It's scary how good he is with football. Like there's not a single place on the football pitch he couldn't put the ball. Like he's one of the most natural talents the Premier League's ever seen.
No, genuinely one of my favourite players. But no, as I said, I thought Man City got the job done, but I thought Everton were in the game, and they couldn't break them down. As you said,
will say it's crazy to see what's happened with Grealish. Like you think, what was his 6th game on the bench in a row, or 7th? The thing is, I get why, because currently with the sister, it's kind of Phil Foden's kind of taking his place alongside Doku. I like Doku a lot. He's raw. He's a bit like Garnacho.
Yeah.
He's raw, but the talent is there. But I just think there must be something happening behind the scenes, because like it's weird. He's just fallen off a cliff.
No, genuinely, it is really, really weird. But I genuinely do believe a Doku, like against Everton, he was so good. Genuinely, I believe he was really, really good, and it was just there's so many teams these days. When they take a shot, they want the perfect goal, and they just constantly screw it up. And I think that was a little problem with Manchester City. Is they just kept shooting straight at Pickford. Actually, no, not straight at Pickford, because I do kind of find it a little bit funny that Pickford's first 2 chances he has at him go in the net.
Yeah, but to be fair to Pickford, isn't he still like number 1 for Golden Glove this season so far?
Is he?
I think so. I think it's him. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure it's him and then Onana.
If Onana's fucking top, that's fucking ridiculous. Even though I thought Onana has been one of the worst keepers this season, when we talk about the Villa game, I will always shit on a player when he's being shit, and I will praise a player when he's being good. He was amazing yesterday.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll get to it when we get.
No, I get it. I thought it was amazing when he was saving, but when he came to the feet part, it was fucking comical.
A lot of shots were at him.
Yeah, to be fair. I'm not a huge fan of Onana, even though Man United fans probably on Twitter going, "Oh my god." Yeah, Jordan Pickford. Yeah, Pickford of 8 clean sheets. Oh wow, Alisson second.
Yes.
On 7.
But yeah, like Pickford, it's a weird one for him, because you think that he's worse than he is sometimes, but his actual stats are pretty good. It's just because his overall game, like he's not really. It's a bit like Thomas Muller. He's not strong in any of the goalkeeping positions, but he's overall consistent. A bit like Thomas Muller. Thomas Muller was never the fastest, never the best passer, never the best shooter, but in every area of the game, he is of an 8 out of 10 standard, and that's similar with Pickford.
Yeah, no, I was going to agree. Now, moving on to the next game. Brentford getting a 2-0 win versus Wolves. I was kind of shocked about that, because I thought Wolves, after how good they were against Chelsea and that kind of stuff, they would continue their form, and even against you lot, they were not in the game, and then randomly, as soon as you start scoring goals, they're like, "Oh, we've got to turn up now." They get the game back, and Mainu saves your ass. They do very well against Chelsea, and then lose to Brentford, and of course, Ivan Toney once again. And I can see by the stats right here, they completely dominated.
The thing is, though, well, that is Wolves literally in the Premier League the last God knows how many years. They're what Fulham used to be. They're just so 1 week good, 1 week bad, 1 week good. But you've got to remember as well, of course, they lost a lot of players in the summer. They're still a very young squad, so I think they'll be fine. I mean, they're still 10th, so they must be 12th by now. But I like how they play. And I like Gary O'Neill as a manager, but yeah, Brentford got the job done. And I thought it was also interesting. Did you see all the interview and stuff of Ivan Toney afterwards?
No, I didn't. I didn't manage to catch it. What
Yeah,
was said?
so he was answering some, like, they were questioning on some comments that Thomas Frank had said, where they said they might have to sell Tony in the summer, and I think he took that a bit personally in the sense of, oh well, if they want me here, kind of thing. But to be fair, Tony's evidently going to go. He's what, like 27, 28. He's going to be in the prime of his career, so he'll go to a bit. What I think might happen though is a club like Arsenal sign him and have him as their bench striker. That's the trouble for him. I don't think he's good enough to like be up front for a City or a Liverpool. I think his best bet would be to go somewhere a bit like what Ollie Watkins did. Ollie Watkins realistically was getting linked with clubs like Chelsea and stuff like that, but he wouldn't have started. He went to Villa, that kind of like Villa Brighton level, and is smashing it.
Yeah, he's been amazing, and yesterday, oh my lord, he was terrible.
Yeah.
But going by that, and also I think it's also Matheus Cunha was very, very good against Chelsea, but I've kept saying this for a long time. Since Raul Jimenez left Wolves, they have not signed a proper 9, and it shows.
Well, they don't have the money for it.
Are they that broke? Are Wolves that broke?
That's why they had to essentially have a massive squad exodus. They're really they're very close to the line.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Next season, it's just because when you remember when they came to the Premier League and they signed bloody the entire Portuguese national team, and they're still having to pay off some of the wages from that time.
God damn! I don't understand why they were so obsessed with just signing the whole Portuguese.
Well, it's because they had Nuno, wasn't it? And he had all his contacts from Portugal and.
It won't be fair because thankfully for them, they got me Diego Jota, who I believe is Liverpool's best finisher other than Salah. So I really, really do like him, and I'm grateful for that. Going on to the next game now, Fulham Bournemouth. It's literally, as you said yourself, Fulham are such a yo-yo team. Play bad, play good, and have a good game.
I always have a soft spot for Fulham. My grandparents on that side grew up around the area, near it. I've always enjoyed Fulham as a club, and their owner Tony Khan runs the wrestling company that I watch. So I've always had a soft spot for them. And they're backed good money wise. They've got a hell of a striker. Their trouble at the end of the day, Fulham, is they're one of these clubs that unfortunately will just be every time they get a good player, they get picked off. So they're having to then rely on kind of mid-table ones. So I reckon they'll go back to what they were in the early mid-2000s, where they're just this constant club. Sometimes might get Europa League, might get 13th, but as long as they're in the Premier League, that's the main thing for them.
Yeah, and they've got rid of Vinicius, and then they've got Muniz.
Yeah, he looks good against Bournemouth.
And then of course the Jamaican Bobby de Cover-Reed, I think he's a good player, but I think he's better in the 10. They play him out wide a lot. And of course they have your former player Pereira, who's, to be fair, doing quite good.
Yeah, well that's his level.
Yeah, it's definitely his level.
That's the thing, is it's not necessary. It's a bit like we have that player Brandon Williams, and a lot of he's not United quality, but I think he's at Ipswich currently, and he's doing really well. And it's just because sometimes that is your level. But Pereira, since he's kind of hit that and having different expectations, he's offered a lot more freedom than he was. He's not under that god awful when Solskjaer played him as a centre mid, so he's playing a bit further forward. It's not, and of course they've even managed to get good performances out of players like Willian, who people thought was past it.
I remember when he was in Arsenal, and I was like, "What the fuck is that signing?"
I know
that was horrible, but genuinely, I think Fulham this season, they've not been too bad. Harry Wilson, of course, former Liverpool player, we kept playing him in the 10 and in the wing. He seems to be playing better as kind of like a midfield pivot. And I was actually shocked to see Bournemouth had nearly 30 shots. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but then a lot of those are outside the box.
They need so many teams. They've got to stop trying to score from outside the box. And I don't know why it's not. But I think it's a good result for Fulham. What does that put Fulham now? Fulham 12th. So
yeah, they'll be happy with that. Marco Silva's a good manager. They can just keep building on that.
100%. You know, I don't think Fulham are that bad, and I think they'll be happy to hopefully stay 2 seasons in a row in the top 10. I think that'd be anyone would be happy with that.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got a game I was watching at the same time as Liverpool game, which is of course Tottenham v Brighton, and I thought Brighton were amazing, but they just got caught.
Really explosive.
Give me your thoughts on that game, on Tottenham Brighton.
Yeah, so I think Brighton started better. I think Tottenham grew into the game, and then obviously getting Son back on, getting more shape to the team. Now Maddison's come back. I do think they're starting to find their form. I mean, I love some of their signings this season. I mean, I hate Tottenham with all passion. They're like one of my least favourite clubs, but they made some smart signings like that. Udogie is an amazing
he's
young
amazing.
talent. Van de Ven is one of the quickest centre backs I've ever seen. I think Vicario, I don't think he's world class, but I think he's better than what we have. I don't know if I can see them hitting Champions League this season, because I still think it's this high line they play. It just keeps punishing them. But I do like that Ange is more about attacking football, and that is one thing that's been evident with Spurs this season, like how many bloody goals they've scored. I'm glad that Johnson got his goal as well, because he's been getting a lot of stick about his signing and stuff like that, and people saying like, oh, is he Spurs quality? Which is madness from me for what Spurs think Spurs quality is, because they had Gareth Bale about 10 years ago. They think that should be every winger should be that.
Yeah.
But I was glad for him to get his goal, and he can silence some of the people.
You know, I do think Brennan Johnson's not that bad of a player, but you know, for Forest, I think he's playing like a front two, or maybe just behind the 2 strikers, and he's playing out wide, and the position is not really used to him. And I think now that Son's back, he probably will go back to the bench, and he'll be Son, Kulusevski, or maybe if Madders is injured, they can play Brennan Johnson in the 10. But I don't really think they play over 10 really much these days. They play like a 4-3-3.
No, I thought Bentancur had another good game.
Yeah, listen, I like Vicario, but I don't like this. Everyone keeps saying he's the best goalkeeper this season. Not for me.
No, I don't know about that one.
For me, it's still Alisson, because is that. But we're also going to give credit to, you know, even though he was shit against Everton, against Man City, Pickford is top right now with the clean sheets. Onana is level with Alisson, but I think, to be fair, that's been due to your defence. When you had Martinez and Varane, that was the best partnership. Of course, now Martinez is injured for 2 months. You've got Maguire.
Yeah, bloody foul on it.
But like, I swear that guy is so unlucky with his injuries.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when he's in the team, he's one of the best centre backs in the Premier League easily. There's not a lot of people that will throw themselves into tackles as much as it. He reminds me of a Vidic or a John Terry in the sense of like, he doesn't care if he's getting injured. He's throwing his body into that tackle.
Yeah, but no, I think he's been very good. And with Tottenham, I think one of my favourite players from them is I got to give a shout out to is actually Pedro Porro. I think he's actually been very good as a right wing back.
Yeah, well, he's had to adapt, and I think he offers a bit of versatility because he's not a natural in that role. So he offers, and they're doing a lot of what every single team in the Premier League is now doing. You know, thanks to Trent, and they're playing inverted right back into centre midfield. So Pedro Porro doesn't slide in quite nicely alongside like Bentancur.
You know, I think they've got a perfect team at the moment. That the team's basically back to full strength, and I think Richarlison as well this season. You know, I've been chinning on him a lot when he's at Everton, but now he's really, 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 really getting better. And I think in terms of Brighton, I've kept saying this for a long time because obviously I play for a football team. A lot of my mates are Brighton fans. I've always told them that I think the better keeper for Brighton is Barver-Bergen, not
Yeah.
Still. I get that Still knows the way to play the system, but I've seen so many errors from him this season that have led to Bayern losing. And I'm not saying he's at fault, because of course the goals, there's classic FIFA goals where you pass it straight in front of everyone and you pass it straight across goal and it's a tap in empty net. So,
I
but
think the other thing with Brighton as well is that like a lot of their fans, the reason they're not moaning about where they are is because they're aware of the situation. It's their first season in Europe. They've had to play way more games. Europa League is grueling as well. You're playing on Thursdays, you're having to travel. So, I think they expected it. It's a bit like, Newcastle being back in the Champions League. Whilst, yes, some of their fans have been a bit more out there than Brighton fans have been, I think they expected that, with the stress, the additional games, it's going to come. And for Brighton, I think, say Brighton finish, 9th, 10th this season, don't get into Europe. Maybe that's good for them. They can get back to, prioritising the Premier League and getting back up there. Because they do have a good team.
And I think they do, and I think they've been affected a lot by injuries,
Yes.
and Ciso being injured, Ansu Fati being injured, they got on loan, he's now back, Joel Veltman being injured, Espinyan's been injured a lot, he's back now, Lewis Dunk, he's been not injured, but he's been getting red cards and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've said it for a long time that I think they should start playing Carlos Baliba a little bit more, because he's like the only defensive midfielder, and I think Gilmour and Pascal Gross are more attacking.
Yeah, I do like Pascal Gross. I think in in the right system, I think he could play most teams in the country. I think I do like him a lot.
No, I do like him as well. He's a good footballer. I just think he needs to. They need to remove Gilmour maybe and put in Carlos and play Carlos Gross. We play Gross more further up.
My worry for them is I think someone comes in for Mitoma in the summer.
I think he goes. I was going to say Barcelona, but they can't afford him.
No, I think he goes to maybe a Bundesliga club or something.
Bayern?
Maybe. It's not really a Tuchel sign. Maybe Leverkusen. I just think that I do think a Champions League club will come for him. I don't think necessarily an English club, but I do think of.
Because you got to think in the aspect of, I don't think Xabi's going to be there at Leverkusen because he's going to come to Liverpool in the summer. So I think maybe Dortmund, because the Sancho thing's on a loan, right? And there's no real. Because it depends what you're going to ask, because you did pay a lot of money for him, so you're going to want at least 50 mil back.
He can go for as little, he can go for a quid. I don't care.
A quid.
If you're being unprofessional and you're not turning up to training, and and you're being he did it when he was at the City Academy. He did it when he was at Dortmund the first time. We're the only club that's punished him for it.
Fair enough. I think that's a good thing, to be ruthless and teach his players a lesson.
Yeah.
And then of course the next game, which I genuinely didn't expect, Luton won Sheffield 3.
Luton were awful.
Luton have been brilliant this season. This is the worst I've seen Luton in a long time.
They ran out of steam. The thing is, the last few performances they've had to get. I mean, especially that Newcastle game. They give everything, and you could see it. They were every single 1-to-1. They were second to it. They were just, but Sheffield just wanted it more across the pitch. I do think I like that Cameron Archer. I don't think he's the best player in the world, but I do think maybe a club like Palace or maybe even Everton, I think at the end of the season come in for him when they get relegated.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think with Sheffield United, genuinely, I think Chris Wilder, I remember watching Chris Wilder. I think it was the same season when we were doing the football streams. And it was Chris Wilder. Wasn't it the same season where you drew 3-3 to them?
Yeah.
And they were in the top 10, weren't they, Sheffield?
Oh yeah, no, they had they're a weird one because we loaned them Dean Henderson. They had that crazy season where they finished like 8th, I think, 7th or 8th, and then the next season they went down.
Yeah.
There's such an up and down. I still think I maybe even finish 19th. I think obviously Burnley. I don't think there's really any hope for at this point. I think Sheffield United. There's not really any hope for.
No.
It is really between Luton, Everton, and Forest, depending on what happens. Because we don't even know like what the Forest points thing could be. We don't know whether Everton are going to get just a fine or more points.
I think Luton will stay up. I genuinely think Luton will stay up because I've seen enough from them this season to prove to me that they can win against the big lot.
Yeah, I just think they lack quality. I still even they've got a lot of raw players, but I do think they need to invest in stuff, like use some of that Premier League money. Even just get like a couple of experienced heads, like what they did with Ross Barkley. I think Ross Barkley is one of the signings of the season.
Yeah,
because it just gives them that edge.
Genuine question. This summer, is he on the plane?
Not to the Euros.
I've seen a lot of people say they want him on the plane.
No, I don't know about that. I'm not one of these people that thinks Henderson or Phillips should be there.
No,
but I also don't think. I think you want to be taking players like Ward-Prowse over Ross Barkley.
I genuinely think England need Ward-Prowse because
it's versatility. It's something off the bench to give us a different
set
vibe,
pieces, free kicks, penalties, set pieces. You need
those. That's what you need in your squad. Like he's not a starter, James Ward-Prowse. I don't think you should start for England, but I think if it's if we need a goal and you need someone to get the ball in the box to be doing stuff. I mean, even not set pieces, just getting a ball in, to like bloody slab it. Get Harry Maguire up front, and just to get a ball.
I've seen him this season for some reason. 10 out because when you play striker for the last 10 minutes, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
But no, I don't think Ross Barkley makes the plane because I still think there is too many gaps in his game.
I agree. I was just seeing a lot of people saying it, so I was like, for me, obviously my national team's not England, but in terms of England personally, I believe you should be going with, as you said, Ward-Prowse. Go the main ones: Bellingham, Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Trying to think of everyone's. Would you go with Morgan Gibbs-White, Maddison?
No, I'd go with Conor Gallagher.
Gallagher I think has not been the best player, but for Chelsea when he's been playing as the 10, he's been one of the best midfielders. He's been Chelsea's best midfielder over Enzo and Caicedo.
Obviously, James Maddison as well. There's just so many centre mids I'd rather see. Cams than Ross Barkley. And as for CDMs, you've got Bellingham and you've got Rice there. You don't need bloody Jordan Henderson playing an Ajax, or you don't need Calvin Phillips, who isn't playing great for West Ham either now.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips, on his debut assists, wasn't it you lot? Didn't he assist?
No, he assisted us, but he also assisted whoever they played in their first game.
Oh my lord! Yeah, he's. I don't know what's wrong with Phillips, but clearly he's just not match fit at all.
No, that's the issue.
Then of course with Liverpool Burnley, we've already talked about that, but I think it was a quicker saying about that. I think it was a very important win after the Arsenal loss. Still top of the league, even though City do have a game in hand, but it's good to respond well back. I think there's the first game I've seen this season where all 4 goals are all headers from crosses.
Yeah. I'm amazed. I'll be amazed if by the end of the season Kelleher is still a Liverpool player. There's no way he should be sitting on a bench at that quality with his age as well. No,
genuinely, yeah. I think he's probably the best backup keeper in the league. I think you should.
Yeah, probably currently, I'd say.
I'm trying to think if there's any other.
It's that we're in that kind of era now where there's a lot of backup.
Maybe Ramsdale.
I'll tell you who the best. There's 2 for the best backup goalkeepers in Premier League history, and that's Carlo Cudicini when he was at Chelsea under Petr Cech, and Sergio Romero for us.
No, Romero, right? I don't remember lots about him, but I do remember that he was very solid.
Well, yeah, you think he was the Argentinian number 1, and he was our backup goalkeeper, De Gea.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And I think now with Queeving, I've said it multiple times, there are a lot of clubs in the Premier League that might need a keeper. Tottenham are fine now. Arsenal are fine. Chelsea are fine because I think Petrovic should now be the number one.
I think what I've seen a couple of links to, and I think it most likely will happen. Leicester go up, obviously, and I think they go for someone like Kelleher because
Not a bad shout, though. Not a bad shout.
Because their goalkeeper is the one weakness in that team.
Yeah. Leicester, Burnley, they're going down. Sheffield going down. So I think if he stays in the Premier League. Luton, I think their keeper genuinely is not bad because he's the reason why they've not lower down. The man I say is that keeper's done.
The other club I can see potentially, obviously Leno's getting on, so maybe Fulham, but then that's a risk because obviously Leno is an established first choice, so then you're waiting again. I just can't see why Kelleher, at his age now, at his talent, is happy sitting on the bench.
Let me try and think. Brentford, no. Oh, that's a genuine good one. But then again, they've just signed a new keeper. So
yeah, I
was going to say Forest. I was going to say Forest, but they've just signed a new keeper from Strasbourg. So they're not going to need. They've only got 3 keepers.
I honestly think Leicester, with their because they've still got that Welsh keeper, don't they?
No, they don't have him anymore. They've got a new keeper now.
Oh, okay. No, I thought they still had.
No. No, genuinely, I think of all the top teams, I probably would say Fulham. Palace, I think, are fine.
Oh yeah, no,
Palace are fine. Forest have already got enough keepers.
Yes, they do.
Luton, I think these keepers good enough.
Yeah.
I'm probably going with Leicester as well, or maybe go to another league. Maybe Spain. Spain might be to Germany. Maybe Bundesliga.
Yeah, I just think he needs to be playing more. Like every game I've ever seen him play, he plays well and he plays like solidly as well. There's no rust. There's no I just think he's too talented to be wasted on the bench.
Listen, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Let's go to the next game now, because you've got about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So all we want to see the Chelsea game. Another amazing game. Nottingham Forest 2, Newcastle 3.
Yeah, and that is if you want to go into the issues of refereeing in this country, you look at that Forest decision where they didn't get a penalty, and where the players through and he gets not only tripped by I forget who it was, maybe Dan Burn tracking back, but also by Dubravka sticking out his arm.
I need to watch this. Let me see if I can find it. Forest penalty. So, cause I think that's like 2 or 3 games where they've actually been robbed.
It's the referee in this country is appalling currently, and they're getting hidden behind currently. But I just think managers are allowed to be slated by the press, players are allowed to be, so we should be allowed to slate referees as well. And it's a constant, or it's VAR missing things.
So let's have a look at this. He's through on goal. Yeah, that's definitely a penalty because.
And that's Anthony Taylor again.
He gets genuinely clipped.
But Newcastle this season is obviously they suffered a lot of injuries, as to be fair have most clubs. Like you think we haven't had our first choice team pretty much at all, other than we had our first choice team for about a week, and then Martinez got injured again, and now Shaw might be injured. Newcastle have suffered injuries, but their reliance is weird. It's like Dan Burn is so out of his depth at this point. He's slow. Like in no other team in the Premier League is playing someone as clearly a centre back as him at left back. He's so slow tracking back. He offers something in the box. Yeah, but that's about it. I just think, and then they have bloody Lewis Hall on the bench.
That's what I wanted. Why the fuck did you sign him then? If you're not going to play him.
Well, they haven't. They've done that weird thing where it's a loan to buy.
No, obligation. Is that why they're not playing him? Is it because they don't want to...
100%.
It's the FFP stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and like he was, yes, he wasn't first choice Chelsea, but he was playing occasionally. And he's a decent player, but, it's crazy to me that you have that talent. Yeah, a bit raw, but you have that talent sitting on the bench. and yet you're playing like. I mean, did you see how many? Did you see any of the Forest game?
I was watching a little bit of it. I saw the two Bruno goals, which are really good goals.
But like Alanga, which I know Alanga's quick, 100%. Obviously, ex-United player.
Yeah.
But like, why were they not bringing in bloody Botman or whoever or Charter to help Dan? But leaving him one-on-one with Alanga, and he was just sprinting past him.
I said for a long time that Newcastle need to sign this summer if they've got the money. They've got the money, but because of FFP, they need to go get a genuine left back. Because if they're not going to play Lewis Hall there, you know, why not? I think Livramento could play left back. I'd rather, if I'm a Newcastle fan, I'd rather play Livramento left back, play Trippier right back. Because Dan Burns
He's another
getting
one, on the bench.
Dan Burns, like Livramento for me, he single-handedly, you know, that game, the City game in the Carabao Cup, and when they played you lot with 4 fullbacks in defence. Livramento was one of the main reasons why you guys lost, because he was that good, and they just drop him. Trippier this season's been worse. Yeah. I've seen him single-handedly give Newcastle losses.
Yeah, but they do have that get out jail clause, and it's Bruno. He's a world-class player. He's way too good for that Newcastle team.
I think he might leave in the summer though, because they have to sell. Genuinely, they have to sell. And if I'm Newcastle, I'm not selling Isaac because I think he's a baller.
But that's the one who they're looking at. That's all the rumours are pointing to him being sold, which is nuts to me.
Chelsea are probably going to go for Osherman.
Yeah.
Arsenal going to go for Tony. Do you think United might go in for... But then I don't think you need another striker.
Well, no, we need a backup striker.
You need a backup striker, but Isaac's not backup.
No, exactly. So what we're looking for, and what I've seen linked, is like an experienced striker, to a bit like Cavani-esque, to then play alongside Højlund, you know, as a sub. You know, a bit like, unfortunately, what happened to his buddy Scott McTominay for.
No, that's the great thing is, for me, Scott McTominay is United's Origi. Like,
technically
clutch,
at the moment.
the clutch player. Like, the man of times is... Like, I think when this season's over, Ten Hag needs to write a big letter to Scott McTominay, giving him flowers and everything, saying thank you for saving my job, because he's the reason why Ten Hag's not sacked, because it's McTominay every single time with his bloody head. But genuinely, I think it was a good game. I think Forest unlucky, should have got a penalty, but also I've got to ask, he's got time to shoot in the empty net. Why is he not shooting?
Yeah.
Like, I understand he wants to try and get the penalty, but genuinely there was a time where while he's falling, you could still get some connection on it, and he rolls in the net.
It's just a tricky. I don't know.
I don't get it.
His momentum takes him, but at the end of the day, I just think the referees in this country, it needs a massive overhaul. And even the stupid blue card thing they're going to bring. All that's going to happen if they bring in that silly blue card is that the team that's down for 10 minutes will time waste.
Oh yeah, but it's ridiculous. I hope to God that never happens. Genuinely.
All they'll do is say United, right? Say Dalot gets a blue card.
Yeah.
All we'll do for 10 minutes is pass it around the back and keep possession, and then when Dalot's back on, that's fine. Go forward again. It's
just really stupid, and I'm hoping to God they say no. Of course, the next one, which I think was, whoa, West Ham 0, Arsenal 6. I've never seen West Ham get that spanked at home.
It just happened so quickly. It reminded me almost of you remember the Germany-Brazil game?
Yeah.
The World Cup. It reminded me of that, just how quick it went from literally 0 to then it was suddenly 4-0. And it was a team literally just falling apart, and they lost their heads. Not in a like tackle way, but just in the sense of any kind of structure. They weren't tracking their runners. They weren't going for balls. They weren't. It was mental.
And plus, they allowed their former CDM to piss all over their pitch. Like, he assisted 2 goals and scored 1.
I will say though, I do think it's embarrassing seeing the fans leave early at half time. Like, the amount that were leaving, like, you can't be all, oh yeah, we're champions of Europe and
Yeah.
oh we won the Europa Conference League. You got to support your team whether they're winning or they're losing. I don't care if they're 4-0 down. You think, yeah, fair enough, they weren't going to come back, but you saw years ago when Arsenal were 4-0 up at Newcastle. Newcastle brought that back 4-4.
Yeah.
I don't think you can call yourself a true fan if you're leaving halfway through a game. By the way, you've already paid for that ticket, so you're not getting your money back.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I understand a little bit. Remember a couple of seasons ago when we decided to spank you at home, and we were 4-0 up at Old Trafford, and all your fans were leaving at half time.
But I hate that.
Yeah, but I say same. I'm like, if I go to a Liverpool match, let's say I'm watching Liverpool FA Cup, right? We're losing 4-0. I've travelled 5 hours to get there. I'm not gonna just go, 4-0, fuck off. No, I'm gonna stay there and clap the players and show that I'm a true supporter. I think it's stupid. Real fans, as I can't remember the quote, but I thought it was a Bob Paisley quote or something saying, if you're there when we're good, you've got to be there when we're bad.
Exactly. It's the same thing. It happens all the time. Like you see it at clubs that can get relegated and stuff like for example, you see clubs like Portsmouth that have gone down several divisions. You see how many people were in their ground when they were winning the FA Cup, doing all that, and then you see when they were. I don't know. They're still in League One, aren't they?
Are they Portsmouth?
But when they went down to the depths of League Two, I remember their grounds are empty.
Yeah, League One. They're top. They're top of League One, actually.
Yeah, so they're doing well again. But what I mean, there is a lot of fickleness, and West Ham fans are very quick to forget. Like they're all about, oh, Moyes out, Moyes out. Forgetting they're still doing pretty well on the table. Yes, they haven't got a win this year, but they're still doing well on the table. They literally won a European title, something Arsenal have still never done.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of entitlement. It's the same with Spurs fans.
100%. And, I thought that was a very, even though I don't think Arsenal will win the league or finish above us this season, I genuinely do believe that was the right thing for Arsenal to do after beating Liverpool last week, of just going, you thought we were going to drop points against West Ham after being Liverpool? We're not stopping. And
they played so well. I mean, I said
really
a lot about how bad West Ham were, but Arsenal were incredible. Every
Declan Rice, Havertz played well. I thought Saka played really well. But I think for me, the two best players were Rice and Odegaard. And I see a lot of people pissing on Odegaard. For me, Odegaard, I think for me, him and Kevin De Bruyne are the best attacking 8-10s in the league.
Yeah, no, like Odegaard has reached next levels of what people thought he was going to do, especially after because he came through such a young talent. Then the whole Real Madrid, signed him a bit too young, but he's recovered his career greatly, and he's one of the best players in the Premier League at this point.
Next up, you lot. Talk to me about Liverpool, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Man United. How you felt after that? Scott McTominay once again saving you.
Well, it's not really necessarily because I would argue we played better than Villa. We had some poor refereeing. To be fair, I will say I'm not biased. The ref had a bad game both ways. There was, for example, Longley got a booking for speaking back to the referee. In the first half, Bruno did the exact same thing. No yellow card. However, on the flip side, I think one of our players got booked Casemiro got booked when Matty Cash dived, and yet opposite happens. I forget who it was. The Aston Villa player just gets told off from the ref. There was zero consistency through the entire game. So another game where the referee's just spoiling it. But overall, I thought we played pretty. It was a very back and forth game. There were points where Villa were on top. There were points where we were on top. I'll give a shout out to one of my personal favourite players, Diego Dallo. Because he's always solidly a 7 or 8 out of 10. He never really gets spoken about, but I think he's been one of the players of the season, and he's been. I mean, the amount of clutch tackles he's made, even yesterday, he run it doesn't matter whether it's a 90-minute game or because of bloody extra time, an 110-minute game. He will run, and he's always and his defensive games get because his attacking's always been to a good level, He can whip a ball in the box like no one else that I've seen United fullback wise for a while. Because Shaw's balls in the box are very hit and miss. Wan-Bissaka is a first man merchant. You know, as all he can hit. You remember Antonio Valencia?
Sort of.
Yeah, so Antonio Valencia basically couldn't beat the first man every time he was playing right back. But Dallo can whip the ball in the box, but it's always been his defensive side. And that's why Solskjaer sent him off to AC Milan. He wasn't a fan of him. But I just think he's been incredible. I think Harry Maguire's having this redemption. I'm not his biggest fan, you'll remember that.
Yeah.
I'm very outspoken.
He was, genuinely, I've said this for quite a while, and I don't know what you think. I think ever since he's not been captain anymore, I've seen a new Maguire.
I think it's also positioning as well, because by having... So, Maguire struggled at the start because he was having to play the higher line along... Because obviously Martinez and Varane are of a decent speed.
Yeah.
Now that he kind of stays back a little bit, and Varane kind of pushes forward, and then Dallo kind of moves into mid, it kind of allows Luke Shaw and Casemiro to... Basically, we've got this kind of like circular movement with our defence, where Shaw will almost come across to a centre back, allowing Varane to push up. Casemiro then moves back, and Dallo moves up, and Maguire stays back. So it all kind of works together. I thought obviously Mainu had another fantastic game.
I know he's a really good player.
He got beaten a few times by Douglas Luiz, but at the end of the day, his composure on the ball for an 18-year-old, find me someone else who can do that. I thought Højlund again had a great game. I think I'm glad that people can stop memeing him. I think a lot of people forget he's still, even though we've been knocked out, the joint top scorer in the Champions League this season.
Yeah.
So actually, and he's 20 years old, first time playing in the Premier League. He only played a handful of games for Atlanta, so I'm very happy. Obviously, Garnacho, I think, has all the makings of... I don't think Ronaldo, like people are going on about. I think that's a bit silly. But I do think Garnacho could be a first-team player for many years to come. And I'd rather I'd rather not speak about Marcus Rashford.
No, I think
the sooner he leaves United, the better.
I think there are two players genuinely that I think Man United need to move on from, even though you might disagree. Rashford.
Yeah.
And I think Bruno just overdoes everything now.
Nah, no, you take away Bruno from the United team, you see how badly we play. He orchestrates everything. I know that rival fans don't like him, but without him, you know, every team has a player like that. The rival. I mean, I remember when you had Suarez. Everyone hated Suarez.
Oh, of course,
I still hate Suarez. You know, but that's the thing. Sometimes you will have those kind of players that other fans don't like, but it's what he contributes to our team. Without him, I mean, you look at his goals and assists since he's joined us. For his position, bearing in mind how poor we've been, it's pretty good.
Yeah, 110%. And, you know, moving on quickly, in terms of Aston Villa, I thought Bailey, you know, I'm a big advocate for Leon Bailey. I think he's a really good footballer, but I think a lot, as you mentioned earlier, every time when Watkins or Bailey had the ball, they just shot it straight at Onana. There was times when you could go right, left, chip it, and they go, no, I'm just going to go down middle.
They didn't take advantage, and they didn't take advantage of the biggest weakness of Onana, which I'm sure you've noticed, is when there's a corner, he just stands still.
Yeah.
He doesn't come out. He's the only goalkeeper in the Premier League that just stands on the line.
The amount of times I've seen him get done from corners is actually hilarious. But
yeah, because he stands back and he's thinking, oh, but if I stand back, I'll save it. And it's like, no, you don't have no one in the world. You could believe Manuel Neuer at like 29 years old, like at their peak. He doesn't have the reaction time for that. It just isn't happening.
Listen, I thought it was a good result. I've said this many times. I said it. If you don't put your chances away, you will get bitten in the arse. And I knew as soon as they got the 1-1, I was just like, I think it's too late. I have a feeling Man United will still win it. And you did win it. And of course, lastly, before we finished, the game's not happened yet, but we got Chelsea v Palace. Palace have gone with Dean Anderson, Munoz, Anderson, Richards, Mitchell, Lerma, Watson, Ayew, Hughes, Franca, Mateta. Chelsea gone with Petrovic, Gusto, Disassi, Thiago Silva, Ben Chilwell, Enzo, Caicedo, Gallagher, Madueke, Nicholas Jackson and Palmer. And genuinely, I think this is, at the moment, Chelsea's best team.
Yeah, that's a strong Chelsea
But
team.
I think they look better when Thiago Silva's on the bench and it's Badiashile. That's the team that played against Villa. Because they did what we did with Nunes. Nunes was playing in the middle. We saw how he was struggling. So we put Nunes to the left wing and you put Jota in the middle and then they overlap. And now they've put Jackson in the left wing.
Yeah, Nicholas Jackson's raw, but I think he'll come through. He's got a lot of faults in his game he needs to sort out. But I do. His enthusiasm's incredible. Like he's one of those there's some there's some strikers who wait for the ball to come to them. He'll work his socks off for the team. He just seems to get in the worst positions I've ever seen.
Give me a prediction. What's your prediction for Chelsea? Because obviously the game's not done yet. So tell me what you think.
Maybe a 2-0, 3-0. It depends. If Palmer's on form tonight, I think maybe a 3-0 Chelsea. I think if Palace play that awful Palace style sometimes where they go ultra defensive from minute one, I think maybe a draw. But if Palace actually try, I think Chelsea beat them.
100%. Listen, Conor, I really do, because you said you've got to go at 8, I really do appreciate you coming on to World of Football, talking about football. Hopefully we'll do some more. And hopefully you lot lose against Luton. Come on, Luton.
Yeah.
And
well, I thank you for letting me onto the World of Football. After this, I'll be flying back to the world of Earth, where I live. And I'll...
the world of Earth.
But yeah, maybe next week I'll fly back over.
Perfect. I do appreciate it, man. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like. We'll be back next week. Next watch along will be on Wednesday for Bayern v Lazio when the Champions League